All right, it is time for the Currently Reading Challenge weekly wrap-up for week number 4. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be my wrap-up for the 4th week of the Currently Reading Challenge, where I tasked myself to read 65 pages a day, 5 days out of the week, for a total of 325 pages a week from my Currently Reading. Each week I picked 5 different titles from these 2 jars. I have one for fiction and one for nonfiction. I picked 3 fiction and 2 nonfiction, and that made up my TBR for the week. And I made a new TBR each and every week. So the goal was 325 pages a week, but now that we're at the end of 4 weeks, the new goal, or the cumulative goal, is 1,300 pages. So did I make it to 1,300 pages? I will let you know. But first up, we're going to look book by book how I did with my 5 picks from last week. And as always, we'll go from the least amount of pages read to the most amount of pages read. So with 19 pages read this week, we have The Vikings by Gwyn Jones. This is a nonfiction history book. It's very heavy, like physically, as well as the content is quite heavy. And 19 pages for me actually feels pretty good. Like, it ended up only being 1 chapter, but I'm fine with that. I realized I could go more than that, but then I would probably not finish at the end of the chapter because the next one's like 20 pages. So I'm like, you know, I'm happy with that. So I read 19 pages, and I think I shared the chapter last week. It was The Historical Traditions of Norway to 950. And then upcoming we have Denmark to the Death of Gorm the Old. I would have put Gorm the Old all in one page because that's like a name, or all on one line. Yeah, that's what I would have done. But that's okay. I'm not the person who designed the book, and I'm not criticizing. I just have opinions. Anyway, so this was a good read. I'm actually glad this one came up twice, and I'm glad that I got to read it 2 out of the weeks this month because it is a lot of pages. I still have 321 pages for this one, and that's after 2 weeks of reading this challenge. I started it right near the end of April, so I'm not super surprised about that one, but this one's going to need some consistent effort over time because it is a slower read, it is a heavier read, and yeah, so I got 19 pages in, 321 left, so that's a fair amount. Next up, this one I actually was a little surprised at. I read 26 pages from True Grit by Charles Portis. Yeah, only 26 pages, and I have 83 left. This definitely felt like it could have been a contender to finish, but I just felt it was a little too similar to one of the other titles that I was reading this week, which I'll share when I get to that one, and I prioritized the other one. So this one I read to a chapter break. There are not many chapter breaks in this book. I think there's like 4. They're not numbered. It's very hard to figure out when to stop reading. A lot of times it's a long spans of dialogue, and sometimes the dialogue doesn't even say who the speaker is. So it's first person, which I didn't pick up on, and it follows a girl who is trying to write something that happened, or she's looking for, what would be the right word, justice maybe, for her family, and so she's very forthright, and it's very straightforward. It's a little dry. I'll even go as far to say it's a little dry, but I've gotten back to the rhythm of it in terms of I know who the major players are. I feel comfortable with what's going on. I don't feel comfortable with what's going on. Some of the stuff that happens is a lot of the stuff that happens is pretty tough, but I feel centered in the story, so I feel like this is a good contender to come back to and finish later. So I'm surprised a book that had like 100 pages left I didn't finish. I stuck at 26. I felt like it was too tough and too slow to read in tandem with one of the other titles this week. So I only read 26, 83 to go, 83 pages to go, and so that was the second least amount of pages. So next up we have 39 pages I read from Daybook by Anne Truitt. So this Daybook, the Journal of an Artist. I read 39 pages and I have 140 left. This was the section I'm in right now is long enough that I know that I'm not going to finish. It's very short journal entries, so it's nonfiction. And so what I just did is I just sort of like, when I needed more pages, I just read X amount of pages for this. So it just sort of would get me to goal when I was sort of doing the math. This one, I finally, I figured it, if Donna's watching, I figured out what was going on. I'll put a message in the Goodreads group with spoiler brackets, but the author did explain the thing that was confusing. So yeah, but this, I am, it's really interesting because it's journal entries of an artist, but she often is reflecting back on other times of her life. And so it's linear, it's chronological in terms of the journal entries, but it's all different parts of her life. So I'm finding it a little discombobulating in that sense, because memoirs are usually chronological, I think. Maybe not, but I think. And journal entries are chronological, but she's sharing memories of her life in art in all different times of her life. So it's taken me a while to get centered on it. So anyway, so I am continuing to enjoy it. I felt a little surprised I haven't connected to it as strongly as I thought I would. And that might be because there's another nonfiction memoir by an artist, by an author, actually, that didn't get picked, that I really was hoping to finish before I got to this one, which is why when I started this one, I put it to the side. So, and I'm speaking of The Diary of a Magnusson, which has been a very constant companion during the Currently Reading Challenge, but never came up in this round. So that's why I think I've had some hesitation with this one. I just feel a little more, I think I would feel more resolved if I'd finished The Diary of a Magnusson first. So anyway, I am enjoying this one, and she does sculpture as well as she's talked of drawing. I read a fascinating section recently where she talked about vision and when she got her first glasses, or when she learned her vision was different and that having glasses would make things clearer. That was a great section. Really, really insightful, especially from an artist's perspective, and being able to see clearly and not even know that she wasn't seeing clearly. Like, that was fascinating. I didn't know the time period in which this was. Like, she grew up, I'm not going to remember it correctly, but it's earlier than I expected. Like, I think she went to college in the 40s. So it starts much earlier than I thought. So anyway, so I am continuing to enjoy it. Still have a fair amount left, 140 pages. I don't read memoirs quickly, and I am fine with that. So next up, we had 51 pages left with The Demon's Lexicon by Sarah Reese Brennan. And I have 0 left. Yes, I gotta finish it. And so this one was, I knew I would finish it, like, without question, 51 pages, like, no question. It was like the first thing I knew that I was going to do. I actually tried. This is an YA urban fantasy about brothers and who know about the paranormal and sometimes help people, although the protagonist is often resistant and doesn't really care about helping people, but he does it because that's what they do, and his brother is very compassionate and wants to help people, so it's just sort of what they do, so that's what they do. So this one, I've had a sort of bumpy ride. It's one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR, which is why I've been persistent on finishing it. And I have to say, I ended up enjoying it. I ended up feeling rather touched by the end of it. I felt I felt emotional about it, and I loved the finale. I could totally see what was going on. Like, visually, I could see like what the whole space looked like, and so I was in it. So, and the only thing is I ended up finishing this on day 2. I tried to space it out because I think I had 4 or 5 chapters, so I tried to space it out during the week because it would give me more pages throughout the week, and it's a faster read, but I couldn't wait. I had to finish it, so I just sped right through. I don't know if I'll continue the series. It's a trilogy, so it's not that long, and it is complete. The second book is about a different character, so I'm not sure. And it's a bit longer. This was only 330 pages, and the next one's closer to 400, so I'm not sure. This only just barely made it. It only made it like with the 300-page threshold that I've been working with this year, the only reason I included it is because it's urban fantasy, and I tend to read that faster, and also it's one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR, which I am making some exceptions for. But yeah, so I ended up liking it. Who knew? Like, it definitely has issues and problems, and there were some red flags and stuff like that, but I was very, very surprised that by the end of it, I was totally in it. And I shouldn't be. I love urban fantasy, so those kind of stories speak to me. So I ended up, I gave it a 3. I'm begrudging that it was closer to a 2 for most of the read, and then I did give it a 3. So yeah. And then the 5th book was the one where I read 192 pages, which might be a record. I didn't look that up, but it might be a record. I read 192 pages from Battle Royale by Koshan Takami, translated by Yuji Oniki, and I have 200 pages left. This book is 608 pages, so I basically read a third of it this week. And this was the one where I had challenges with True Grit. These felt just too similar to me. They're both concerned about, like, Battle Royale is about a Battle Royale. I feel like that's a thing that people know what it is, but it's kind of like Hunger Games. And I actually do not know how close they were written at the same time, or if it's just a thing that pre-existed, or I think it's a thing that pre-existed in terms of an idea. Anyway, so this follows a bunch of junior high school kids who are sent to an island and told only one of you is going to live. So do something about that. And there's a time clock as well. And so this is, kids, trying to contend with that. So, junior high schoolers going at each other or not, or choosing what to do, those kinds of choices. And this one, although it's a Western, but it is about someone who is trying to find someone, trying to hunt someone down, sort of, for justice. So they had similar themes. So I put True Grit aside because I thought that's one that I can more easily finish on a regular week, because now I'm at less than 100 pages. This, at 600 pages, I decided to put my emphasis on Battle Royale and work on it. It's a bit of a faster read for me now than it was last year. It's still, I think I'm about 50 pages an hour, so it's still a little lower, but it is trade paperback, so the pages are long. But they do have a lot of, I can't show stuff. They do have a fair, like, every new chapter is a new page, so it does have some blank space in terms of that. And this is quite intense, and this isn't, I feel like this isn't terribly realistic, or is it? I don't know. Is it supposed to be? Like, it's very extreme, which feels unrealistic. And both of these, I admit, I had a bit of a challenge reading either of them, given some situations that's been going on in the States. So, in terms of violence and against other people. So, yeah. So this one felt less realistic, so I felt also more comfortable reading this one right now. And I did initially, I wanted to finish part 2, which was an aggressive page count. It was like 170 pages, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, but it's the big section. Part 2 is the big section, and I wanted to finish that. But as it turns out, at the end of the week, I wanted to get a few more pages in, so I kept going and read even more than I anticipated. So 192 pages read, 200 pages left. Like, I feel like I'm in really good shape to finish this. Also, it was Translate-a-thon last week, so I gave priority to this one because it's translated from the Japanese. Translate-a-thon is readathon created and hosted by Rhea. So I ended up being really happy that it was Translate-a-thon while I was reading this. So, and I think last year I might have read it during Translate-a-thon too. Man, it takes, this is why 300 and under, because 600 pages... I mean, at this point, it's almost a year since I started this. So, but I feel like I'm in good shape. 200 pages, my reading speed has increased. It's going well. So overall, if we look at those numbers and we add up everything, it was a bit of a rocky week. Oh, I forgot to say, one of the other things was on the first day of the week, I read nothing. I totally forgot it was the May 2-4 weekend, which is the Victoria Day weekend. So Monday is a holiday, and I celebrated on Sunday. And Monday they had fireworks. Sometimes they had fireworks on Sunday. Also, there was some violence on Sunday. So that was really just, I mean, I think people are finally feeling good about getting out and stuff like that. So to have that this week, all of that this week in the States and stuff, it's just it's so heavy. But as it turns out, I didn't do any reading on Sunday, which meant I was trying to, like last week, get all of my reading in 4 days. So my numbers were pretty high. It's 78, 105, but then 52, 42, and then 43 at the end of the on Friday, which I don't normally read. So I did end up with 327 pages this week, and I just made it. I almost gave up, but I needed 41 pages left. I almost gave up in terms of getting to 325 because I had worked, like it was 2 weeks in a row of having a 4-day reading week, and then Battle Royale, I had met my goal of getting into finishing the section I was on. I was like, do I want to start the new section? But I think I'm going to just continue reading Battle Royale. So I just parsed off like 30 pages of that. I think I read like 10 pages a day book or whatever, and ended up with 43. So I got my 325 in, but only just. So that's 2 weeks in a row of only just. I got 334 last week and 327 this week, and I almost gave up. I ended up reading at a time I wouldn't normally read, on a day I wouldn't normally read, because I was just like, it would just be so sad to end on like a week where I didn't make it, and I was like, okay, fine. It's very unenthusiastic, which also I feel like means that I'm getting, obviously, to the end of the challenge when I start to feel like this. But that being said, I also did know that if you add up all of the pages that I read in the 4 weeks, so the goal is 325 a week to total 1,300 for the month. My total page count so far for this 4 weeks is 1,739 pages. And I knew that I met it early. I made a little dot. I knew I met it on this day. So it wasn't even this week. I had already met the challenge on the 17th. And a lot of it had to do with in week 2, I finished the entirety of the female gaze. So in week 2, I got basically double my page count at like 652 pages. So I finished basically a week and a half early. And actually, I was pretty high on that week. But this week was tough. Like, honestly, all of these reads were pretty slow, like slow, heavy reads, right? Battle Royale and Demon's Lexicon were the 2 fast ones. And then this was a slow, heavy read. This was a slow, heavy read. And with Daybook, with memoirs, I only like reading sort of like 10 pages at a time. Like, I don't know why that is, but I don't like I can't retain much more than that. So, but I am thrilled that not only did I stick it out to meet my weekly page count, I also well exceeded my challenge target of 1,300 pages by getting 1,739 pages. So I am really happy about that. And I did get 1 finish in this week. I felt like I could have gone for 2, but I decided to just stick with Demon's Lexicon, and who knew I wouldn't end up enjoying it. Oh my gosh, that was such a surprise. So I am going to save my final reflection for a separate video, because I do have 3 more days left in the month. And although I'm not pulling titles for this week, I am going to still count any pages I read for titles that are already on my currently reading. So I do plan on continuing reading Battle Royale. So any additional pages I'll have for this. I do actually have a separate column in my so this is for the challenge, but I have this separate column for other non-5 currently reading. And some weeks I didn't get much, and some weeks I got a fair amount, including this week. So yeah, because I did sort of decide I was almost gonna I picked out a separate book that would be the pages if I wasn't going to make it to 325 to work on. And then I ended up deciding to go for the 325. Anyway, I'll talk more about that in the reflection video overall, because as I said, I have 3 more days in this month to keep on reading. And I think I also need to be out of the experience a little bit more to reflect back on it. Like, I am thrilled that I got to my page count. I don't know how I feel about sticking with making sure I got to 325. That feels a bit more doing it because I said I was going to do it versus doing it because I want to do it. I did start to get a little burned out, and I think that in part was due to the fact that everything in week 5 had already been picked before, and I had several, I don't know, I probably have about maybe 7 to 10 titles in the fiction jar that never got picked. So, I mean, like, in some ways, it's great to get further along on some of these titles and to finish one and to get really into Battle Royale, but I kind of wish I had a different fiction title. Also, I think if I have a fiction title in future rounds where I only have 50 pages left, like Demon's Lexicon, it might be worth picking a spare because I finished this on day 2, and then I was like, I was already reading 40 pages of Battle Royale a day. I'm like, I don't want to read more than that. So I got myself in I painted myself in a bit of a corner, I think. So, and that's one of those things, like, you know, working towards the constraints of the challenge instead of that helping the project, it actually is constraining. Constraints are great for challenges because they limit choice, which always sounds like a bad thing, but it is good for a limited period of time to be able to make bigger progress in a smaller focus. So yeah, sorry, doing a certain more like project management type. I don't know if that's project management. I don't know. Anyway, you know, I love thinking about challenges and how to organize things and all of those good stuff. But yeah, so that's how the week went for those titles. I would like to say that I did finish the 3rd section of Les Miserables, so I'm thrilled about that. I only had 32 pages left. It was quite intense. Like, all of the books were like, even Demon's Lexicon, I ended up being very emotionally invested, which I did not expect. So all of the books I read this week were pretty intense, but I finished the 3rd book, so I'm thrilled about that. I am going to start the 4th book soon. I did read a couple of other things. I actually had an unexpected trip out to the library. So one of the books I read a kid's book, Ming's Adventure with the Terracotta Army by Li Jan. And this was really cute. I really enjoyed it. It's about a kid who goes to like a museum with his mom and gets a figurine, and then has some sort of fantasy sequences about adventures with someone from the Terracotta Army. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Also, it was translated, which I didn't realize when I picked it up, and I read it during Translate-a-thon, so perfect for that. And then I did also read, because I'm trying to also continue to read other works. I'm always trying to, some of the categories of reading that I don't always talk about, or I only sort of more recently realize I always read from, are kids' books, visual works, and romances. So those I throw into the mix because I can almost always finish them within a week, as I did, like, you know, Ming's Adventure was a one sitting read, and it was great. And then I also read for Dai from Dionysus 19's Monochrome Manga Club. My hold came in for The Fox and Little Tanuki. Is that how you pronounce it? Little Tanuki. So this is a manga, and it was very cute. It's a okay, so it's not a romance, but it's like a Grumpy Sunshine situation where you have this cute little, oh my god, cute, so grumpy sunshine, and they're sort of like forced to have to work together. I did feel like the Grumpies was really, really grumpy, and that was a bit of a challenge. And I did find it a little hard to understand the overarching story. There were lots of characters, and there are some shapeshifters, and I wasn't as familiar with, I knew the Kitsune, but the other ones I didn't. So when people were shifted, I was like, I don't know who's who. So I had a little trouble with this one, but it was very cute. And I did like the characters. My library only has volume 1 and volume 2, and I have a hold on for volume 2. So I'll put the Dies discussion video for both this one and The Man and His Cat up in the corner as well as down below. I am looking forward to watching it and hearing her thoughts on it, and I'm really glad that I was able to get both titles this month from the library, and looking forward to seeing what next month's selections are. So I'm really happy that I read this. And then I did get one romance in, which was actually, this was the romance that I was focusing on this week, Made Until Midnight by Joanne Rock. This is a Harlequin Undone, which is their novellas. And this was a knight who was betrothed, but the father of his betrothed was being very cagey on moving things along. So he ends up accidentally kind of kidnapping his to-be wife, kind of. It was not, to be honest, it wasn't my favorite, which I was a little too bad. I was a little disappointed in because I have read other romances by Joanne Rock and really enjoyed them, but I didn't enjoy this one quite as much. I think it's medieval set, I think 1344, and the title refers to the fact that he sends an ultimatum of that her father, who is some kind of earl or something, has to respond because she's only going to be a maid until midnight. I thought she was like going to be like a scullery maid. Like I didn't realize that's where it was going. Anyway, but I read it, one more historical read. I got another letter from my A to Z romance challenge, but it was not my favorite. But it was quite, I like reading the novellas because they are quite short, and I can definitely, like, during a challenge like this, I can finish them within a week. So, and I did that. So there you have it. That is how the week went. I am overall really happy with things. I did feel the energy this week was not as great, but I did, I did stick with it, and I did get to 325, and I did get to 1300, so I am really happy about that. I will do a reflection. I'm going to take some time on that. It'll be probably at least a week. I'm not sure what I'm going to read yet, because now I have to actually do my reading planning for this week, and I'm kind of like, what do I do? I did go to the library, so I definitely have some selections there. I am a little hesitant about starting new things before June 1st, but I feel like I've done a lot of work on getting my currently reading down. So I'm struggling. I'm honestly struggling with that. I want to start new things, but I feel like I should wait, but I don't want to. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing there. But I will probably do a library haul. It was an unexpected trip. I didn't get too much stuff, but that's always fun to share. And I may or may not do a June TBR. I don't even know what I'm reading this week. So I don't know. TBRs are always good videos, but I genuinely don't know what my plans are. My general plans are I do want to go to the library. I think June is going to be a library month, so I'm going to try not to get out of hand in terms of starting a million things, but the things with library books is you have to return them, so generally speaking, I try and finish things before I return them. Generally, I ended up buying Battle Royale, but I learned my lesson. 300 pages and under. That has been helping so much this month. So anyway, so as I said, a reflection will be upcoming, probably maybe next Sunday, maybe mid next week, I'm not sure. And library haul probably this week, and hopefully, and then I'll probably be back to Friday reads, which I love doing, and I haven't done during this challenge because this is the format that worked for sharing how things are going. So let me know how you're doing, how your month went. What do you do for weeks like this one where it's like half in May and half in June? Do you just stick with your plan till the end of the month and then start something new, or do you just like start early? I might be starting early. We'll see what happens. Anyway, this has been a long-winded one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being with me throughout this video and this whole challenge. It has been quite the month. I'm looking forward to looking at my stats once the whole month is over and see how I did overall, because I actually don't even know, and there's still some time to make more progress. So there you have it. I will be back soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.